YouTube, it's your boy Sean Matrai here with the Prank Kids Combo Guide. So, for all those who do not know what Prank Kids do, I'm going to teach you about the deck, about everything. I know this was highly requested on YouTube. I had a lot going on, so I had not been able to upload to YouTube. My mom fell and broke her ankle, so I had been very busy and attending with that over like almost the last couple of weeks to a month. So I haven't been active on YouTube. Just barely been on Twitch, trying to get my daily Twitch content in. So it's been a little bit slow for me, but I am back. I am currently consistently uploading now on YouTube. I have a lot of videos coming. So if anybody wanted to know what happened there, that is what happened, and that is why all the content got pushed back and delayed. Anyway, we are back, and we are going over with Prank Kids. So let's go over what exactly they do. So Prank Kids is a combo, sort of a combo-ish control deck, and it can really, I think it's one of the strongest decks in the meta. I think that when you look at the deck in terms of the value it puts out, as far as what their minimalistic card requirements are, I think it's really good, and I think it also allows you to really pop off turn 1 or turn 2. With that being said, let's go over the main core of the deck. So for the core of the deck, we are running, including the field spell, about 13 Prank Kids. So we're running 3 Fancies, 2 Lampsies, 3 Dropsies, 2 Roxies. Now, all your Prank Kids have the same first effect. So your Prank Kids' first effect is that if they're sent to the graveyard as link or fusion material, you get to special a Prank Kid out of the deck, as long as you meet the secondary requirement on the card. So all your initial Prank Kids will tutor into another Prank Kid when they're used as link or fusion material. So, for example, you summon a Fancies, you link it off, and you can summon a Lampsies. If you link off a Lampsies, you can summon any Prank Kid you want, like a Dropsies, Roxies, or Fancies. So, all of them can tutor into any Prank Kid but themselves. So that's the one thing I want you to take away from that. Now, among that, they all have a different second effect. So, for example, Fancies sends Prank Kid card from your deck to your grave. Lampsies burns for 500. Dropsies gives you 1,000 life. And Roxies bashes the card in your hand to draw one. Okay? And these second effects must resolve in order to use summon a Prank Kid out of the deck. And you can only use each effect of each Prank Kid once per turn. That's a hard once per turn. And next, alongside that, we have Place. Place searches any Prank Kid unsummon. And both effects on the field are a soft once per turn. However, the field spell can only be activated once per turn. So I say soft once per turn relatively, meaning that if Place is already on the field at the start of your turn and you activate another one, then you can activate both of the on-field effects twice per turn. And those effects are when a Prank Kid is link summoned, your opponent loses 500 attack on all their monsters, and vice versa. When you fusion summon a Prank, all your monsters gain 500 attack. So this could be really good for lethal lines. Prank Kids Pranks is a continuous spell that allows us to discard a prank to summon a token. And that could be any card. That could be your fusion spell. That could be a place. But it cannot be tributed, so use the link material or fusion material. But generally link material. During the end phase, it is essentially a mini pot avarice. Target 3 Prank Kids cards in your grave. Shuffle them back into the deck or the extra deck. They can be your links or fusions. And your spells. And then draw a card. Pandemonium is a quick play fusion spell that can only be activated during the main phase. But you use it, you fusion summon out your Prank Kids fusions, generally battle Butler on your opponent's turn. And yeah, it's searchable off Dodo Dodo, and it can be added back to the end via Dodo Dodo. But the one thing you need to keep in note is this has a restriction that you cannot normal or special summon any monsters but Prank Kids after this resolves. So you got to be very, very careful with that, okay? And that includes resolving a Nibiru because you have to special summon Nibiru and you will not be able to. Now, in this deck, we run a ton of text. Now, one of the benefits of Prank Kids is that we can fit in a ton of text in this deck because it has a relatively small engine. With that being said, we play a total of 18 hand traps. Alright, now that may seem a little bit absurd, but it's really good in terms of this sword soul meta where everybody is running straight up, you know, but you need to have the interruption going against them turn 2. Okay, because they can create massive fields. So what do we run to counter sword soul? So I think the best hand traps in this meta are Veiler, Imperm, and Gamma. These are your best hand traps against sword soul, and because of that, we are running 8 of those to counter. So we're running 3 Veiler, 3 Imperm, and 2 Gamma. So those are 8 direct cards to sword soul. Next, we have your standard Maxi and Ash. Ash is just really good in general. It's weak against Sword Soul, that's the only thing. But Maxi is always strong no matter what you play against. Now, there are ways for people to play around Nibiru on the ladder especially. I mean, not on the ladder, in tournament play especially. But on the ladder, most people are not going to play around this in Sword Soul. Nibiru is going to be a very effective card for you. And if they're not playing around it, and they go for summon Moyes, reveal, summon, and then go into Long Yun, then they are going to get hit with a Nibiru, and it's going to be very, very punishing. So Nibiru becomes a very, very good card in that state and time. Okay, alongside that, we are playing 1 droplets. So how many going second cards do we run? 1, 4, 7, 10, 12, 13, 16. So we have 16 going second cards. Count it up again just to make sure. 3, 4, 7, 10, 12, 13, 16. So yeah, not 18, but 16 going second cards. So we have a lot of hand traps in this deck. A lot of ways to stop our opponent. Okay? Now, on top of that, going first, we are running 2 call buys, 3 cross out. These cards are insane, and they really help stop our opponent. Call by the Grave is really, really good to just say no to your opponent being able to their hand traps, so their Ash, Maxi, you name it, cross out doing the same thing. Alongside that, yeah, that's pretty much the main deck list. We do run 1 copy of Thunder Dragon Fusion. Now, this card's really good in terms of Verte Anaconda. We're going to talk about it. And I know some people are going to ask, where's DPE? We don't run DPE in here because I think it's not as valuable in here. So there's that in a nutshell. Now, the extra deck runs Rocket Ride. So what Rocket Ride does is it takes 2 Prank Kids monsters. If it's Fusion Summon, use this, have 1,000 attack, loses 1,000 attack, and it can attack directly. The main use of that is to chain block, and I will explain that. Also, on field, you contribute it, and then target 2 Prank Kids non-fusion monsters in your graveyard, special summon them. Weather Washer is a really, really good card. It is Rocket Ride, essentially on your opponent's turn. During your opponent's turn, you tribute it, special summon 2 Prank Kids non-fusions, and they can't be destroyed in battle this turn. So that's really, really good. And you can only use this effective Weather Washer once per turn. So it's kind of like the reverse of Rocket Ride. Really, really good. Also, another thing is, if your Prank Kids monster attacks, if you play Duel Links, you know about Triumph and King Golem. It is that your opponent can activate cards and effects into the end of the damage step. So that's really good against certain effects. Like if you swing into a defense position DPE, then they will not be able to activate that DPE. So that can be very good. Now, your main boss monster in this deck is Battle Butler, and this card is absolutely incredible. It takes Lampsies, Dropsies, and Fancies, and it's super easy to summon off of 1 card. I'm going to teach you how to do that. It must be Fusion Summon Quick Effect. You tribute it, destroy all monsters your opponent controls. If this card is in your graveyard, it's sent to your graveyard by your opponent's card effect, you can target, or by battle, it doesn't matter, by battle or card effect, you can target 1 non-fusion monster in your graveyard, special summon it, That could be any monster. You could revive a Nibiru, an Ash, Valor, Gamma, you name it. You can revive any monster. Okay, it could even be an access code talker if you wanted to, as long as it's successfully summoned. So a very, very powerful boss monster. Okay, so again, like I said, on your opponent's turn, you tribute this is like a Raigeki on your opponent's turn. But Meowmoo makes this more cracked. So we're running 3 Meowmoo. This is great for the grind. You only link summon Meowmoo once per turn. If a Prankith monster you control would be tributed to activate its own effect, you could banish this card instead. So you can activate Battle Butler twice, and it's a link 1 that allows you to go into any of your Prankith's combos. Essential. Dodo Doodle Doo is a rare on link summon. You get to add any Prankith spell or trap from your deck to your hand, so your Pandemonium place or your pranks. You contribute this card, then target 2 Prankith's cards with different names in the graveyard, add into your hand. This card's insane. We run 3 of it. You can run 2, and you can also run 2 of the Meowmoo if you want to. 1 Bow Wow Bark. Bow Wow Bark is like Dodo Doodle Doo, but it activates on your opponent's turn. But it has 2 additional effects. Prankith's monster pointing to this card will gain 1,000 attack, but if this is tributed during your opponent's turn, add 2 cards back. Then you activate its secondary effect that will linger, and your Prankith's monsters cannot be destroyed by card effects. So it's a really good way to play around Lightning Storm as well. Verte Anaconda is a staple. It sends Thunder Dragon Fusion to go into our big boy. Battle Butler is an alternative method, and it's really good to play through Imperm, Valor, Ash. I'll talk about that if your opponent ashes incorrectly. Nightmare Unicorn is a great card. This is a link 3 that just spins a card back in the deck, makes for an easy access code talker. Rip, Roar, and Roaster is the link 4. This is your other boss monster. That's just unlike Battle Butler. It's the reverse. It's a Harpy's Feather Duster. So instead of blowing up the monsters, it blows up the back row. And if this card in your opponent's possession is sent to the graveyard by your opponent's card, then you get to add any card from your graveyard to your hand. Any card except the link monster. Can't be a link monster. But any card but a link monster. So, insanely enough, you can add back Nibiru. You can add back Ash, Maxi, Valor, any of your hand traps. Maybe you side deck a side deck card, and you want to get that to your hand. So there's a lot of ways, things that you can get back with this. Literally anything. You can also use it to recycle Thunder Dragon Fusion after you dumped it off like a Verte Anaconda. So one of the combos you might do is you might end on both Rip, Roar, and Roaster in your Battle Butler. But if they get rid of your Rip, Roar, and Roaster, then you can add back Thunder Dragon Fusion to your hand, recycle Butler, and then use it again. So that's one thing you can technically do with this. Access Code Talker is really good. This card just nukes your opponent's board, and then we're running the 1 Chaos Goddess to just out things like the Ignister boss that can be unaffected by everything, or Crooked Cook. Okay. Now, I'm going to keep the volume off. Now, you may say, why don't I have the music playing? And the reason is simple. I want you guys to be able to hear and understand what I'm doing. Alright, so we're going to go into dual strategy here. And I'm going to show you the basic combos. There's not a lot of extreme combos with this. So just bear with me here as I show you the combos. We did hit Diamond 1 with this season. Currently, we're working on our Virtual World Sword Soul climb, so make sure you tune in for that. Also, I am going to be playing some Sword Soul 10E in the main. Alright, so follow me on Twitch, the link in the description below if you want to see that. Also, be prepared for a potential Prank Kids tournament run. So you're going to want to follow me on Twitch for that, if you want to catch that live as I take them to damage step. Alright, anyway. So basic combo requires any 1 Prank Kit. And this is going to allow us to end on a Battle Butler setup with a pranks and potentially some immediate disruption. So we're going to normal summon the Dropsies. With the Dropsies on field, we're going to link off the Dropsies, and we're going to summon the Meowmoo. On summon, we are going to summon the Meowmoo, activate the Dropsies, which will give us 1,000 life points, and then we'll summon the Fancies. Now, typically here, you want to summon the Fancies second, and the reason why, first, and the reason why is because you can chain block with this. So if they ash incorrectly the first time, then you want to immediately go out into Fancies because it's the most productive chain block for you. Or if you think that they have an Imperm on summon and they want to imperm you, then you definitely want to go in the fancies here, because that will allow you to set up other things. Now, we're going to go ahead and link off the Meowmoo and the fancies, and it's going to summon Dodo Dodo. Now, you always in this case want to chain block your prank kids as chain link 1, and then we activate this as chain link 2. Reason being, like I said, is that they ash incorrectly. This is the best route. Now, with Dodo Dodo, assuming you don't ash, we are going to search our fusion spell. Then with fancies, we are going to dump a copy of pranks to the grave. Now, at this case in time, there's 2 routes you can go. Also, we're going to go ahead and summon out another prank kid, generally Lampsies. The reason why is because we want to summon Roxy's last, so that way we thin our deck out for the best possible draw. If that makes sense, to draw into potential hand trap, tech, whatever. Now, at this current state that we're looking at, we have 2 options. We could end the combo the same way on 2 different routes. We can either go for the Pandemonium route, which will fuse off into the Rocket Ride, summoning out the Roxys, then tributing itself to summon back Lampsies and the Duel and Yu-Gi-Oh, and recycling the pranks. The main thing here is I'd rather go to the double Dodo Do route rather than the Rocket Ride route. The reason why is I think this route is less susceptible to a Nibiru. And the reason why I say that is because we still have Bow Wow in the extra, and if they nib us and we draw into another prank kid, that off of like something like Roxy's, or, well, we wouldn't be able to, but if they Nibiru us on the second Dodo Do, then we could chain our fusion spell and at least summon 2 prank kids out of the deck, and then end on like a whatchamacallit. Then we could potentially end on a Weather Washer if we manage to do that. If we manage to, well, we wouldn't end on a Weather Washer, we'd end on a Bow Wow Bark. So we'd be able to end on a Bow Wow Bark. So I'd rather hold the Pandemonium, and it's better that way, because if they can't OTK us through Nibiru, then we're better off on the follow-up already having Pandemonium in hand. So I know I got a little bit confusing there, so I'm going to re-say what I wanted to say. In a case like this, it's better to hold the Pandemonium, because we can follow up with, if we had a different prank in hand, if they were to Nibiru us, like on the second Dodo Do, then we could potentially follow up into like a Roxy's, and then since we do have another prank kid in the hand, we could fuse that off if they Nibiru at the wrong time into a Weather Washer. If they can't do that, then we're better off on the follow-up keeping fusion in the hand. Or if we had like a third prank kid here instead of like another tech, then we'd be able to make like a Weather Washer on their turn. Or even potentially going as far, maybe if they don't Nibiru at that point, to even go into a Bow Wow Bark. But like I said, heavily situational scenarios, but I'd rather go this route most of the time. Anyway, unless we have like more prank kids in the end, then I will go the Pandemonium route. So a lot to take in, but note that you can do the combo either way. And I will show you both ways. So in this case, where we go the double Dodo route, we're going to summon another Dodo Do, and then we are going to burn and summon a Roxy's. At this point, we're going to tribute the Dodo Do, adding back the prank kid's place and any other prank kid you want. Now, what's important here is off fancies, you always dump place if we're adding Pandemonium, which is going to happen always. I would say 95% of the time. The only time where I generally dump Pandemonium is if I open place or they imperm my Dodo Do. Then I do that to go into a second Dodo Do to get back place. To get back Pandemonium. So I have fusion place on my opponent's turn if I wanted to do that. Now, in this particular case here, we activate pranks, then we activate pranks as effect, discarding the fancies to get a token. Now we are going to go ahead and link these 2 off into a prank kid's Bow Wow Bark. Now we are going to trigger the Roxy's effect, banishing the copy of fancies in order to go ahead and draw a card. Now, having an extra prank kid in hand means that we have a higher chance of getting a stronger hand via text. Now we can just go ahead and set these 3 down and enter our turn. Now on end phase, we're going to go ahead and proc pranks. And we are going to make sure that in all cases we have a fancies, lampsies, and dropsies in the grave. Because we want to be able to set up Butler. Now in this case, you could technically shuffle in the fancies because we have a fancies on field. But we need to have fancies, dropsies, and lampsies always accessible, whether they're on the field, in grave, or in hand, to make our Butler. So in this case, we can shuffle back the fancies. And we'll also put back a Roxy's and Dodo. And then we can draw a card. Alright, so it's our opponent's turn. He's going to go ahead and activate a bunch of things. Now, the one thing you want to be careful here is Called by the Grave. Called by the Grave ruins your combo because he can called by your Bow Wow Bark and then you don't get to add, and that's really sad because you lose Bow Wow for the whole duel. So be very careful by that. That's why if you draw into a cross out of like Roxy's, set it, because then you can cross out there Called by the Grave. Okay, so we normal summons here. Then we are going to activate Pandemonium. It's Chain Link 1, and then Chain Link 2, Chain the Bow Wow Bark, adding back the fancies and dropsies. Okay, now the reason I did this now, like this, is if they activate Lightning Storm, you literally do the same thing. If they Lightning Storm your back row, you activate your Pandemonium Chain Link 1, then you Chain Link 2 the Bow Wow Bark, so that way you add Chains Resolve backwards, you add back the Blankets first, then once you have the adequate fusion materials, we can go ahead and summon the Battle Butler. So we're going to fuse off the Lampsies, Dropsies, and the Fansies, and we're going to summon our boy. Now, since we have a Meow Moo in the graveyard, we can activate Battle Butler twice. Now, Dropsies, Lampsies, and Fansies will all trigger here. And then we are going to be able to proc their effects. And you can decide the chain order any way you want it to. So if you want Fansies to be able to dump you and you don't want it to get ashed, then you can like make that link too. Doesn't really matter. Going to go ahead and summon here. Now, at this point, we can pop them if we wanted to in the main phase. We don't have to. But you can also pop with Battle Butler in the battle phase as well. Or at any point during their turn. So we're going to bash the Meow. Butler will go Pow. Which is an extremely powerful effect to be able to get twice. Now, let's say now it's our opponent's turn. Now we want to play through Nibiru. So ignore what we draw. We're just going to go with the current field. So to play through Nibiru and Lethal, first thing we want to do is we want to make a Dodo Doodle Do. Directly. We're not going to go in the Meow because that's going to cut. If we go in the Meow here, then what's going to happen here is that we potentially risk playing into Nibiru, and we really don't want to do that. So one summon is that. This is going to equal out to 3 and 4 summons. We could choose to add here. I just didn't click it. I mean 2 and 3 summons, not 3 and 4. 2 and 3. So this is going to be a third summon. Gonna go ahead and banish the Nibiru. Now we're going to go ahead and for the fourth summon, we're going to summon. Switch this to attack. Switch this to attack. So we're going to put our dropsies in attack, and we are going to go ahead and link these 2 off into a Dodo Doodle. Not going to activate dropsies, and now 4,000 plus 3,000 plus 1,000 is 8k. Now he has 7,000 damage already. He's already taken that. But I wanted to show you the route that gets you to 8k lethal, and that is game over. So we get our lethal line here without having to play into Nibiru. Because you don't want to be in a situation where they top deck Nibiru and then you lose your whole field. Because you made an unnecessary risk. Okay, so we're going to go first again. And I am going to go ahead and show you the other route. What happens if you do the Pandemonium route Can I do that? Can I get to combo? And the answer is yes, you can. Yes, you can. Now you can see here, we average opening about 3 techs per hand, which is insane. If you're opening up 3 techs per hand, you're generally going to be in a good position no matter what. And that's to play through call by or whatever. Alright, so we're going to normal summon the Dropsies. We're going to go ahead and link off the Dropsies, summoning out this copy of Meow Moo. Going to activate the Dropsies, summoning out the copy of Lampsies, as I always told you. Summon out Lampsies as quick as you can. Then we are going to go ahead and link those off into this copy of Dodo Doodle. We're going to chain block here. We're going to activate Fansies and then follow up with the Dodo Doodle, which is going to allow us to add our fusion spell, while dumping a copy of our pranks. And we are going to summon out Dropsies. Now, oh, we already used Dropsies. Oh, okay. Well, that's fine. It doesn't really matter because we're going for the fusion route here anyway. Now, what we are going to do next is we are going to do the following. Technically, we should have summoned out Lampsies. I meant to summon Lampsies there, but it's fine because we have the Lampsies in hand. We're going to go ahead and fuse these off. Now, if you didn't have Lampsies in hand, then what you would do is you would have to summon Lampsies here. We would summon Lampsies, so I technically summoned the wrong kid. So you would summon Lampsies here, and that way you can fuse off the Lampsies and Dodo Doodle. So if you had one less prank kid in your hand, then this would be really bad. And then we would have messed up the combo, but luckily we didn't. So just keep that in note as a reference point. Another thing too is you never want to summon Rocket Ride right under the Dodo Doodle, because then that could leave you in a bad spot in case you want to go for an OTK line and you're going turn 2. So we're going to go ahead and summon the Rocket Ride, trigger the Lampsies, and we're going to go ahead and summon out the Roxies. Next, we're going to tribute our Dodo Do, and this is going to go ahead and add back our pranks and our Pandemonium. Then we're going to go ahead and tribute the Rocket Ride. This is going to go ahead and summon Dodo Do and any prank if we want. Now, in this particular case, we can go ahead and summon these. This play with an extra prank kid in hand is what I call Rocket Ride Extension. So when I go over this in the combo guide, once I start timestamping everything in the YouTube video, I will post that it's a Rocket Ride Extension. I'm going to show you how to do the original combo that I wanted to show you here, but this will be the Rocket Ride Extension. So we'll go into the bark, and then here we can banish Cross out, draw another card, special summon out this. Now the reason why I call this Rocket Ride Extension is because this ends with you also having another Dodo Doodle, so this sets you up great, even in a better position for the follow-up. So now we have Dropsies. So since we have Dropsies, we can put back the Dropsies in the deck. That is fine. And we don't need to return the Dodo Doodle here. We're just going to recycle a Rocket Ride. And we're going to go ahead and draw. So now we have 3 hand traps in hand, plus a Pandemonium. So we are ready to do our setup. In this particular case, since I showed you what to do turn 2 on the follow-up, what we're going to do here is I'm going to stop once we go into Butler. And then we will drop out of the combo video. So we're going to add Fansies, because Fansies is the best on the normal summon on the follow-up. And then we're just going to go Pandemonium. Make our Butler. And there you go. And then in this situation, you have Dodo Do on the follow-up, once you wipe their field. And then if this survives, then you're going to get 2 cards back at the start of your turn. So this makes you for a better follow-up. So I'm going to go ahead and scoop it here, just to show you. Alright, now we're on to the third combo. So this is just your generic combo with Prankid's Pandemonium. Very good. So what we're going to do is we're going to activate the place. You don't need place here. You can use this with any one prank kid. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to normal summon the Lampsies. go ahead and link this off. Keep in mind what breakage you're summoning. And a good way to track this is to look at life points as well. So, since we didn't gain any, we know we didn't summon out our dropsies. So now we're going to actually summon the right blanket. Pretend this card's not even in the hand. This card is non-existent. So we're going to add Pandemonium, and we're going to summon the dropsies. After dumping the Franks. Now, at this state, we're going to go Pandemonium, and we're going to fuse off the dropsies and the Dodo into our rocket ride. I'm going to trigger the dropsies. Now, if you have place, you can have a game 500 attack. It's not really relevant. And we're going to summon out the Roxies. Then we're going to go ahead and activate the rocket ride, summoning out your Dodo and whatever prank kid you want. Next, you're going to tribute the Dodo, and you're going to add back the pranks and the Pandemonium. Then we are going to go ahead and link those two off into your Battle on Bark. Activate the Roxies, banishing your Fansies to draw yet another card. Now, I know a lot of people may say, oh, Gamma's dead here. You have a ton of text in the end, you're fine. If you go second, Gamma's alive as ever. And if you open it going first, then you can just banish it for Roxies and get another card to replace your Gamma. But Gamma is too good in this meta going turn 2. Especially when you have 10 Solid Soul running around. And then you set. And then, in this case, you're in such a favorable position with all the text you have. And then you just follow up with the Battle Butler that we've been doing on the next turn. So next turn, you tribute the Bark, add back the Dropsies and the Fansies, and then you fuse off into the Butler. Okay, so that is going to be that for my basic Prank Kids guide. This deck, I think, is extremely good against the meta. Now, there are some other combos you can do, but they take way too many situational hands. Will be here forever. I will do a combo guide for that. That will probably be on Dueling Book. That will go a little bit more in depth and show you the more advanced combos that go into instant fusion and the other combos that go into setting up a Rip, Roar, and Roaster into what other things that you could do. So you can set up Rip, Roar and then set up the Thunder Dragon Fusion if you open it. So you can technically do that. And if you have like the most precise 12 o'clock hand that doesn't get interrupted, you can, without Thunder Dragon Fusion, technically end on Roaster. Or your Battle Butler, whatever. I mean, Battle Butler and your Roaster. But like I said, those are heavily situational hands most of the time that generally don't come up in the terms of basic Prank Kid stuff. But this video will definitely help you. You master all this, you're going to get to Diamond 1, no problem. I think this deck is really good against the meta. If you have any questions, leave it in the comments below. Also, follow me on Twitch for my tournament run. I want to make sure you are there for that. Alright, and also to watch my live Diamond 1 climbs, gameplay, and live streams. I generally live stream around 7 a.m. daily, so be there. I will leave the link in the description below. Really appreciate it if you stop by, say hi, and drop a follow. Alright, until next time, make sure you like, comment, subscribe, and go follow me on Twitch. Sean Matrai, signing out. Peace.